Like chewing on the electrical wires.
I don't know, I like shoes. So yeah. I mean, if it's
You may not have gotten the 8:30 memo.
Yeah.
I mean, that might help, but I didn't.
Oh,
Oh, there he is, okay.
oh, he is here.
Look at you, went right into that spot.
I know at one time.
We were just talking about, yeah, I guarantee it. Okay.
Well, it looks like we have all the committee members here now. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 8:31. I'll verify that certification of open meeting law requirements have been met. You have a 21-item agenda in front of you.
We do.
Do you have the amended one?
Yep, that's what I'm looking.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, moving on. You had a copy of the minutes of our previous meeting. Meetings in front of, or attached to your original notice. Okay, we have motion to approve.
As do I.
Okay, we have motion and a second to approve the meetings of.
There's lots of them. Should be all your budget
It's the
meetings.
budget hearing.
All the budget hearings, yep. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, so all those minutes are approved then. Okay, we'll now have a public comment period. If anyone is watching this and would like to call in and make a comment, the number is 715-538-1770. Okay, do we have any members of the public here that want to speak at public comment, or you're all here for specific reasons? Okay, I think we'll just move on. We've never had anybody call in yet, have
And
you?
if the phone rings, we can.
Yeah, we
answer
can
it.
ask. If you just didn't get in through to us, just call and we'll let you speak. Okay, county sales tax update. Paul?
Okay, another mild surprise. For October, it was 245,526.18 compared to 214 last year and 227 the year before. So we are at 1,703,905.38. Well ahead of 250,000 higher. People keep buying.
Yeah. Keep selling whatever you're selling.
And collecting the sales tax on it.
And
Collecting the sales tax on it.
Yes.
Better yet, he's collecting the sales tax. Oh, we're worried about it. Okay, anything else for us on that, Paul?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, general fund.
Okay, that one has the two actions that were taken, that took place at the October County Board. How come I got two different dates on there? They both should be the 18th of October. See, one is the 20 and one is 18, but they were both the 18th. Bringing us still at $3.3 million in our general fund, unassigned.
Any questions for Paul about the general fund? Go ahead, Tim.
That was a big jump. I mean, Paul has already explained this to me.
Microphone.
That was a big jump from the previous month. Paul's already explained this to me, but could you repeat it for everybody? Yeah, why did it jump, the general fund jump up so much?
The general fund?
Yes.
Yeah, because that has the balance after the audit that was taken, that we do the audit in June, about July. So that's why our unassigned balance at the end of 2020, which now I see I made another mistake. That should be 2021, 1/1/21, 5.7 million compared to like 4.2 million the year before. So our general fund did increase.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the general fund? Okay, we will move then to our department reports. Up first is Lori.
I'll leave some room for you.
So interest rates are still very low. They haven't changed much since the last time I talked to you. And budget-wise, I'm going to be short on interest income compared to what I budgeted for. Looking at about $35,000. Some good news, our tax delinquencies are down from last year, about 130,000. And Rick and I just completed the foreclosures on 4 properties. We'll be talking to you about those later on the agenda. And we began the tax foreclosure on 5 properties, hoping that some of those will get paid up, yeah.
When you say beginning, you mean?
Just starting the process, getting title searches done,
Okay.
and then once that's done, we can file with the court.
So the 3 warnings have gone out already? Okay.
Yeah, more than 3 warnings, yeah. And Deanna's last day was last Tuesday. Michelle's been working out great. She started on September 27th, so she's been with us almost a month now in our office. She was in the UW extension prior to that. Any questions for me?
When you have money in these different accounts, are they just in savings or? What do you have?
CDs,
Okay.
the state pool.
How long do you usually put a CD in for? Just a year?
A month.
A
Or,
month.
I'm sorry, a year
A year
usually.
at a
Yep.
time. Yeah, those rates are about 1/4%.
Yeah, well, I can get about 0.5% is what I've been getting,
50 cents on $100.
right?
Okay, any other questions for Lori? Okay, thank you. Okay, Rose?
She didn't even get it warmed up for you.
I know. I won't either, I hope. I sent my report with the packet. You got it? Why I did sent that is, I've been getting calls from the public about, they see that there's some action on their land, and I don't know where it's coming from. It's throughout the state, so it's kind of it's not a scam, but I think they're trying to sell insurance for property so that they have like a, be alerted so that if there's something going on with their land, they can be alerted. That isn't anything to do with our office, so I was getting a lot of calls on that. So I just put this in so that you know this is what we have in our office, is property fraud alert. So if anything is recorded and it's by name in our office, then the property owner is notified. So they have instructions on how to get on the list so that if something would happen that would be recorded in our office, then they're alerted by phone, by email, by different,
Our county surveyor has talked something about, something similar to this, what do you mean by recorded in your office on property? In other words, I could go in and just say something to you and record it on my neighbor's property? What are you talking about exactly?
well, if you're going to file a document, that's when it affects this. Let's say something is entered into our land record system, that's when you're notified. So an affidavit, a mortgage, a deed, any type of document that you're going to record in our office. If you come to the counter and talk to me, no, that's not going to happen. It's only recorded in our program. That's when you're notified. So if you
So
would,
they could do it online, is what you're saying?
they could file their name online to, so that they are alerted. I don't know if you're getting electronic recording mixed up with
Yes,
this?
yes.
Okay, electronic recording still goes into our system. Electronic recording, let's say a deed, mortgage, or affidavit, anything that affects your land can be electronically recorded in our office, but that goes through a trusted submitter, it just doesn't come through email. This is something that goes on another list, so if something like that does come in our office, then you're notified. Does that make it, is that a little bit more clear to you?
Well, what's clear is that there are actors out there who are not necessarily friendly and that may be trying to either scare or defraud property owners.
Exactly, yep. But this, the property fraud alert that we hand out to customers is legit. So it's confusing for the customer, though. They don't know what is legit and what isn't. So I've been getting a lot of calls on that.
Rose, I have a follow-up question on that.
Okay.
I'd like to be clear about what's happening. So this sounds as if, I mean, you've got a little glossy brochure in here from this company. So this is a private company that's selling a service.
No, that's our land records program.
Who is this?
That's our land records program. It's a free service, yep. That is us.
You printed this?
Well, my land records
I
person.
mean, okay.
But it comes from our office. That is ours.
Okay, well, I'm glad I asked. So,
I don't even know what else is out there because I've asked for the phone numbers or something. I've only gotten 2 calls. Other registers have gotten some, and they've made some phone calls to find out who this is. We're not real clear who is doing this and where they're getting the information from. The Department of Revenue has everything out online. Everything's free out there. It's not coming from our records because they have to pay for access to our records. So I'm not sure where they're getting the information because it is happening. I mean, the people I'm getting actually have things filed, have had deeds filed in our office, and it's usually deeds, it's nothing else. Yeah, it's hard for you to.
well, there's 2 of us, George and I.
Yeah,
both
so you're saying
confused
people
about
are
this. I
filing
mean,
deeds on property that they don't own?
No, they are. Everything's here. I don't know how to explain this. When there's a deed filed in our office, there's a real estate transfer return that has to be completed, and that goes to the Department of Revenue. And the Department of Revenue has that, is public. You can go out there and look for that, because that's public. So I'm not sure if these people that are trying to get to sell insurance to homeowners are looking out on the Department of Revenue website to find these names, and then they're calling them. So it's not coming from our office, but the deeds are legit. They're not, it's not a fraud. But the company that's calling them is trying to sell them a service they don't need.
And that service is insuring the deed or insuring?
Ensuring that there isn't anything fraudulent recorded against their property.
Okay, now it's starting to become clearer.
Okay.
So then this is a program that you have that helps,
Yes.
okay,
in
okay,
our
maybe that'll
office.
help you. This is a program we have that helps prevent that. Okay, any other questions for Rose?
Yeah, and then they call them and let them know. They let them know.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah. So, are we done on that? Okay.
Yes, so.
All right, I was just going to give you a report. I went to our Wisconsin Register of Deeds conference a couple of weeks ago, and most of that was regarding easements. Easements were, after 40 years, they used to be good for 60 years, and then the law changed, and now they're only good for 40 years. And now the realtors are trying to get another bill passed through so that any access easements are not considered, that don't go away. Because after with that new law that went through, some of these access easements went away, and now the realtors are trying to get something in so that they are bringing them back. So it's not real clear as to what that bill says yet, because it's not gone through, so, but there is something in the works on that. And when I came back from my conference, the water from above me was leaking on my desk, so it's been a problem. Like a big pail. Yeah. So I don't know what we're going to do about that, because the water doesn't sound like it's going to go away.
Poltergeist, that's all I can think of, is something in the walls is living and
It's
doesn't
gotta
like
go.
you, Rose.
Yeah, I know. So apparently UW Extension, once this remodeling is done, is still going to keep this water above my head. So that's, I don't know, we really need to think something through, because it's,
The stress is killing you, right?
it is.
Yeah, I understand.
And Tim, because it could hit my computer, I'm by my computer. So I don't know. Well, I just wanted to leave that with a thought.
Rose, could you
You're
keep
the sword of Damocles?
it- yeah,
Well, that's a-
over the head, yeah.
Over the
sword
head.
hanging over.
Umbrella.
Okay.
Keep an eye on the real estate stuff. I'm still trying to draw up where the conversation was, but apparently some of our assembly people came back from an ALEC conference with a bundle of real estate laws that they've pushed through or are trying to push through, where they're going and what they're for, clearly to benefit the real estate industry.
Yes, that's true. They are.
So that's without public comment and fast track and all of that sort of stuff, so.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that.
So when you talked about that easement law, so in 40 years right now, you could lose easement to a property.
Already did. That already went through.
Yeah, that one. And
Yep.
what they're trying to do is get that changed. Because technically, you could own property, and after 40 years, somebody sold it, and that person doesn't want you driving through their property any longer. They would have property that you'd not have access to,
Correct.
which makes it
Right.
worthless.
Right. And what happens, a lot of people don't understand how that, some people own their own land for longer than 40 years. Tim owns his land for more than 40. If you don't have a document that is recorded in our office, let's say even a mortgage, anything that refers to that easement, then it ups that 40 years again. So,
Oh, okay.
So any document,
yeah.
brings it up to date.
But there is the potential for you
Yes.
to lose access to your property.
Yes, that's true. Yep, and that has happened, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Rose? Anything else for us, Rose?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to what Lori mentioned earlier, listing of sale for tax foreclosed property.
A packet.
Yes, I have some information for people. So this is a packet of each of the properties we're going to be talking about. It gives you fair market value, assessed value, that kind of information. So
Thank you.
pictures, this gives you a little information as to the properties themselves.
How many are there, Rick?
There's 4. And there are 2 of them as we go through them. We can have to give just a little bit of an update on the condition of them. Because there are 2 of them that actually have structure on them. So basically, we're asking the committee today to set what we want the sale price to be, and then we'll move forward with the property sold. I think
They
that,
have to come back to the county for that
Okay.
to happen.
so for example, I just have this one on top of my file here, the German Cooley Lane, down the Trempealeau one. That's the only one I didn't get out to take a picture of, so, but it is empty, other than I think there's a grain bin potentially on that property.
So that's the, again, the cover page just shows what the assessed value is, what the market value is, and what the unpaid taxes and expenses are. And then again, just shows a location of it. So again, essentially, it's just what does this committee want to do in regards to a sale price?
Well, I'll bring up, are we discussing this?
Yes,
Chair?
go ahead.
I think in the past, here's what I remember, here's the process I remember. We have unlimited opportunities to put this out for bid. So I think what we've done in the past is, first of all, put it out there and try to get the market value and wait 6 months, a year. I guess we have to think about that. And if we don't get the market value, then reduce the price. And I believe what's happened is, after a year or two, we may decide to just sell it for back taxes, just to move it. So this is the beginning of that process.
And the actual process would involve us listing it, publishing it for sale, soliciting bids, and then if we don't get the bid that meets the minimum qualifications, then we revisit the sale price issue. That's a general proposition.
Right.
process.
And there's no limit on the number of times we can do that.
Correct.
So we can come down and come down and come down. It depends how much patience or how much time you want to spend on this.
Right.
Tim, another thing you need to take into consideration is after January 1st, it becomes tax exempt if the county still owns it. So if we don't get it back on the tax roll, then we're, losing those tax dollars until we do get it back on.
Well, that changes things.
Is this little red square in the corner down there, is that the property or right there?
The orange place there.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So do we act on these individually, or?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
It's right in the middle of a cornfield. I don't know how it didn't get missed.
Yeah, I don't understand how that, in relation to the property owners around that, I don't know how that ever happened, but that is,
Yeah, kind of a survey, I mean, that's the weirdest thing.
How did the owner get recorded as killed in 4?
not sure. I'm not sure on that one.
It's a corporation.
Oh, it's a
Sure.
corporation.
Right, yes,
Okay.
it would be a business, that would be.
So what would you like how would you like a motion stated for this?
Basically, making a motion to set whatever sale price you feel is appropriate, and then we'll do that for each property. And then we'll go ahead and, between Lori and I, we'll take care of the process, which requires publication, that kind of thing, so.
Okay, what does the committee feel about a sale price then?
It's right in the middle of a cornfield, so it should be worth market value at least. I mean, land is selling for $4,000 an acre, easy.
So you're recommending the market value of $6,300?
Right.
Do you want to state that as a motion then, John?
Yes, I'm making a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to put the German Cooley Lane property up for sale at market value of $6,300.
But would the owners, present owners have a chance to pay back that $750 and keep it out of?
I believe at this point, they've lost that. They can now bid on it if they would like to.
So they cannot get it back now for paying the back taxes?
Correct.
They're in, they are in Trempealeau County's name.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion, as I said, and a second to sell the lane, or sell the property on German Cooley Lane for the market value of $6,300. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign? Okay, so you can put it for, now you would come back to us then if the price decreased?
We would come back to you to accept the bid that's.
Or if there are no
or
bids,
then we'll
then
revisit the price.
revisit the price. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Next one I have in front of me is the 408 South Main Street in the city of Blair. This one does have a structure on it. Law enforcement oh, no, I'm sorry, this is the vacant lot. My apologies. This is the vacant lot. So those white buildings on the picture, that's not the actual property. It's the empty lot right in front of that where that little driveway goes into there. So this one is an empty lot.
Well, I move to list it at market value.
Okay, we have a motion to list the 408 South Main Street for sale at the market value of $9,700. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of selling the 401 South Main Street property in the city of Blair for $9,700 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
I have the one in the town of Sumner, which is Osseo. There's one, next one I have in front of me. This one does have a structure on it. Law enforcement did go out to the structure and had some concerns. The floor is partially caving in, so it's not in good shape. Also, the health department had been looking at it as a human health hazard with some of the items being kept on the property, so I've been communicating with them on this property for some time now as well. Just a couple updates I wanted to provide the committee.
So that's the driveway in the photos, the sort of gravel road?
Correct. There actually is, that driveway serves another residence further back yet.
Oh,
I can't, well, I'm the one who suggested a procedure. I can't imagine anybody spending $14,000 for that building, but maybe the lot is worth it. I don't know what lot, I don't know what real estate is worth in town, in the city of Osseo.
Yeah, because buying it, you're almost going to have to spend more money.
You're going to have to tear the building down.
Tear the building down before you can do anything else with it.
Sure.
The building is a detriment to the lot.
It is.
so and this is just over the border from Osseo, it seems, in the township?
Correct. It's, so if you look at the very first map, that's McDonald's up there towards the top of the map, and so it's behind that McDonald's area.
Oh, well then, that's kind of, I'm looking at the map, that's kind of close to, that, the rest, north of the lot is developed residential neighborhood.
It is.
Correct. It's not in the city limits, huh?
It's just out, right, it's not in the city limits. All right, I'll move to, put it on the market for the market value. Let's see what happens.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Tim and a second by George to put this property up for sale at the market value of $14,300. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, so we got that one up for sale.
And then the last,
Painting job for you, George. You could-
I saw that. I generally don't go that far north.
then the last one is 108 West Broadway Street, and that's also in Blair. It's basically right downtown area. Picture there shows, law enforcement went there. Law enforcement went to the two structures to secure, make sure that there's nobody living there, that kind of a thing. This one, they said part of the roof is collapsing. So again, it's in rough shape. I believe it's connected to that auto place next door, or very close to it anyhow, so not connected, okay. But in any event, that's the property that's subject to this one.
Seems like 30,000 would be a tough, they just got to tear
Well,
the
we
building
need-
down to get a lot.
I guess we need an opinion from a realtor who deals in the city of
Maybe.
Blair, but.
Okay.
But
Well,
being
it's
downtown,
assessed at-
it has value as far as, business place.
Right.
Well, you can always come down in the future, you know
Okay.
how real estate goes, so.
Okay, we have a motion then to put this for sale.
I guess I'll make the motion,
Okay,
Chuck.
Tim makes a motion.
That market?
Okay.
Was that a second, Doc, or?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay.
You
Stacia
go with
seconds
market
that.
value?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to sell the property at 108 West Broadway Street in Blair for the market value of $30,300. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, so we have that up for sale then. Okay, that takes care of our
It does, yes.
property sales.
Lori, as part of this process, are you in communication with the neighbors at all?
Yes, we do notify all the neighbors once we do put it out for sale.
I know I'm here for the county board rules later on at 9:30. I do have a short hearing I have to go to, so in case it's close,
We'll move you up to
We'll move
that.
your,
Oh, we move up, okay, all right, that sounds good.
Well, should we take care of it now then?
Yes.
yeah, that'd be, yeah, why don't we just
Okay.
eliminate the conflict. So what do we do?
This is the last consideration, I guess, from my perspective
Oh, right.
He has a meeting at 9:30, so he asked that he can get done before then.
These are the board rules with all the changes that we've discussed and all the highlights that are included on them. I don't expect you to read it all now, because you've seen this before. There is one
What
change
item is
since the
that?
last time we met, and I just thought it'd be easier to give you a copy and just tell you what that is. And that is on page, as soon as I find it, I'll tell you. It's on page 10. This is under the Human Services Board. The board took a look at basically the responsibilities that they have, and they wanted to make sure that everything was up to date. So there were a couple of changes. The changes are highlighted in yellow, and then there are some crosses out. I just wanted to point that out, that I spoke with Deb regarding these, and she was agreeable to the changes that are being made, and they were at the request of the Human Services Board. Other than that, all the other changes were ones that we had previously discussed on these rules. So if this committee wants to approve these today, they would go to the board, I believe, next week. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. And then, so then the board rules would be changed, and then the respective ordinance sections that reflect these changes would also be changed, again, with the same wording. The ordinance is set up a little bit different than what the board rules are, because the committee section is a different section, but it would be the same wording.
Just to make things go faster, is there a spot in where we got WebEx covered so a board member can vote?
There is, I believe it's on page 2.
True.
I believe. Yeah, we had discussed about board members being required to attend, but they can appear virtual in extenuating circumstances with the permission of the chair of the board or committee.
Okay.
That was the last conversation that was had.
So that makes us legal.
Correct.
Okay.
And then there's also a provision in here for the voting, that if you're virtual, you can vote as well.
Okay.
We have, excuse me, John, did you finish?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I lost my place. The names of the WTCO, we have the agenda was amended. We have a resolution in front of us to change the name, so I'm getting confused here. Do these changes here in the packet assume that we will pass the resolution in front of us, or how does that work?
The name of the TV station, yes, it is assumed, so, but we could tweak it to whatever you decide to do. If you decide not to change it, I'll put it back to the way it was
Actually, I
before.
read that ordinance was, or that resolution's a little, there are 3 changes in there.
Okay.
As far as I see it, there's a name of the studio, Paul, what are the name of the studio, name of the department, name of something else? They're all name changes, but it's, I guess, if I were on the outside looking at the county, I'd be wondering what the hell's going on? What are you guys doing? I don't know.
People do that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so whatever you guys decide on that, we can
Okay.
make the changes.
So that
accordingly,
might change this.
Correct, yes, yep. Yep, I did talk with Derek this morning, because I wasn't sure what the latest version of the name was, and so that's what he let me know.
Okay, one other thing I see that we're doing not correctly here at this meeting, our property committee, is we should call a roll of members present. I know George does it at the land management, but we have not been doing that here.
Like making an official roll call of the
Well, yeah,
people
right here it
present?
says, Rule 2, call the meeting to order, and roll of members called.
Sure. And I think
Something
as
we
long
want
as
to
you.
change.
And I know that for the county board, you do that. I think for committees, as long as you make note of who's present, at least that would be the
Okay, so
minimum.
it's not necessarily that we'd have to call, have them signify.
State it
that-
out loud, yeah. I think as long as you make a note of it in the minutes, I think you're
Oh,
fine
okay,
there. So,
okay,
yep.
good.
Yep.
I'm still going to keep doing a roll call.
You're still
It sure doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt at all, especially for those who are maybe listening in, they don't necessarily know.
If they don't know who the committee members are.
Correct, yep. Hear a voice and not sure who it is.
And that's something we should decide then if we want to do from now on with this committee. Sure.
Can you tell me what the acronym WTCO stands for?
He told me.
There's a communications in there, and there's a community in there somewhere, and
It's, W has to do with the fact that we're east of the Mississippi, and then it's Trempealeau County. TCO is Trempealeau County.
It has something to do with location and something with the media world and how they came up with the name. I remember him telling me that, but I don't remember the
I
specifics.
just thought that should be what it actually stands for, but I don't know.
And I assume he's coming down for his resolution, maybe?
Not down.
Or here, I mean, that's right, he's here. He might be able to answer that question better, so.
So
I'll have more, when we get to the resolution, I'll have more questions about that. 'Cause
Sure.
you know,
I'd move we accept the county board
Accept the
rules,
county board rules?
and I would, now those are two question marks, in terms of the effective date.
Yeah.
Determine when the April meeting is and insert that date.
I did put it in, didn't it?
In-
Come on, the one that you got in front of you?
In the resolution,
In
but
the
I haven't
resolution?
changed it on here yet.
Oh,
so-
I have
okay.
the resolution here.
Okay.
And it should be in front of you
There
someplace
it is,
there.
right there.
And it
No, that's
should
not it.
have that date in there,
Okay.
right?
It was like the 19th or something like
19th.
that. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions for Rick then?
I did make a motion.
Okay, you did make a motion, and do we have a second then?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second to accept the county board rules as presented by Mr. Niemer.
My intent would be at the county board meeting is to give each board member a copy, just like the one with the color coding, and then also a clean copy, so everybody knows what it's going to look like. That was my intent anyhow, so they can see what the changes are.
It might be a good idea if we could send this out with the packet.
The packs
because-
go out tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I can email this to you.
Because, boy, this is a lot to sit down and look at
Right.
in a matter of a couple minutes before we
Mhm.
would approve them.
Correct, I would agree. Mhm.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the county board rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, then that'll be put on the agenda for the county board
And
meeting
here's one to
next
sign.
week. Okay, so is that everything you need?
I think that's everything for me, so then I will head
Okay.
upstairs. Thank you, appreciate it.
Good. Okay, moving on then to the amended agenda. Lori, cancellation of some checks.
No problem. You bet.
This is a yearly resolution that I bring to the committee. We can write off checks that are 2 or more years past the date that we wrote them out. And we do make attempts to try to get these people to cash them, and this is a list of people that have not done that. Once we do write them off, they still have 6 years from that date to come to the county to claim the money yet.
So these go off your books, but there's like a little $5,066.50 account that will just in case. There you go.
Correct.
It goes back into our checkbook.
Yeah.
Technically, should I read this resolution, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here's what she's talking about. Whereas the Trempealeau County Executive Finance Committee is aware of old outstanding checks written by the county that have not been cashed by the recipients. And whereas it appears to be a good accounting practice to list all checks by check number, payee, and amount, and the date issued, and those checks so listed shall be canceled and the monies returned to the county's cash account. And now be it resolved that any monies recoverable as a result of the cancellation of said checks shall be returned to the county cash account. It is further understood that any subsequent request for payment will be handled on an individual basis according to Wisconsin Statute 59.64 parentheses 4 parentheses E, introduced by the Executive Finance Committee.
I move for its approval.
Okay, move for approval,
Second.
and we have a second.
One question.
Go ahead,
Paul or
Tim.
Lori, I noticed there is a board member's name on this list. Have you contacted that board member?
There is?
There's $22 out there.
Yes,
there she is.
Deanna had handled this, and I'm sure she did. She was very good about contacting people on it. Like I said, she would still have 6 years from now to claim that, if she so chooses.
I didn't mention the gender of the board member.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Lori? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of cancellation of the outstanding county checks signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, so you can cancel the checks.
This one's coming around.
Okay, moving on to 2021 budget adjustment, place ADRC donation into non-lapsing account. Who's going to speak in regards to that?
Erica's here.
Hi, Chuck. I'm not in the building right now, so I've sent the A-team, and I will let those folks handle it.
Can't hear you, Deb.
Deborah, could you speak up a little louder?
She can't, she's long distance.
Oh, certainly, certainly. I'm not in the building today, so I sent the A-team, and they will help you through this resolution. I'm here for any questions.
Did you sign?
So this resolution, we received a donation in the amount of $10,000. However, we would like to put this in a non-lapsing account as we don't need those funds this year due to COVID and the decrease in utilization of the congregate meal program. And then also we've had some access to extra COVID funds. So we'd like to place this in account for future use because as we've talked about before, the federal reimbursement for the nutrition program continues to get a little bit smaller every year. So we know we will need this money, we just don't need it this year. I don't know if there's any questions.
I move for the approval.
Well, okay, I'll read it first.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have a 2021 budget adjustment, place ADR donation into a non-lapsing account. Whereas the ADRC was merged with Senior Services in 2014 and has operated in an integrated manner since that time. And whereas the Senior Services programs within the ADRC include the Senior Nutrition Program, Congregate and Home Delivered, Caregiver Program, Senior Transportation Programs, Health Prevention Program, and Elderly Benefit Specialist Programs. And whereas in 2021, the Roman Shabilla Estate made a donation to Trempealeau County of $10,000 for home-delivered meals and $10,000 for senior services. And where there is not a need to use these funds in 2021 due to the reduced utilization as a result of COVID, and whereas these funds will be needed in future years due to reduced state and federal funds, and whereas a non-lapsing account is a way to set aside funds for future years where they can be assessed when needed. Now, be it resolved that the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors approves establishing a non-lapsing account in Fund 203 designated $10,000 of the donation for home-delivered meals and $10,000 for senior services. This was acted on by the Human Services Committee already? Okay. Okay, now, John.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve this resolution.
Second, but I'll have a question.
And we have a second. Okay, now we can go to the discussion. Go ahead, Tim.
Let's see, will there be some way, it looks like this goes to, the $20,000 goes to Fund 203. Is there some way to ear tag this so that you know that 10,000 goes for meals and 10,000 goes for senior services, or does it get lost in the fund?
I've talked to Deb, and we will be setting up a separate account.
Separate account.
Yeah, for both of.
I'm sure
for
that's
each
what
of
the-
They'll be in two different accounts,
That's
five-digit
what the
numbers.
Shabilla family would
Yep.
like, I'm sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor then of placing these ADRC donation into a non-lapsing account, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay, item number 12, 2020 county budget
Can we
update.
skip that too for a little bit, because Tim had to go to another meeting, but he'll be coming back.
Okay, so we can jump ahead then. Okay, finalization of the resolution for county redistricting. I assume you're taking that, Paul?
Those two in the corner, maybe.
That's
I haven't
the
even seen
A-team
it.
from Land Records, so that.
Okay, I guess I can. We have gotten responses from all 26 municipalities. Last week, we worked pretty diligently with the last 6 that hadn't done their homework. Anyway, but we have them all. And so the plan The tentative plan that we adopted in September. In September would be what will be presented at county board next week for redistricting. And we have to adopt it next week because it has to go to the paper by Friday next week for the notice of county board elections.
All municipalities were in agreement, no? Perfect.
They all accepted it.
Well, at Arcadia, there was a little glitch in that to start with, but
Yes.
that's been worked out. Okay. We'll need a motion in a second then.
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a copy to be read? Did I
I
get
think you should have it on your,
Yeah.
on your-
Oh, okay, yep, here it is,
In your
okay.
packet?
Okay, yep, here it is, I see it
You
now.
want to read it?
Yep, I can read it. Okay, ordinance to establish supervisory districts for Trempealeau County. Whereas Section 59.10, parentheses 3, parentheses B, Wisconsin statutes requires Wisconsin counties to establish the boundaries of county supervisory districts based on the population figures provided by the federal census. And whereas the redistricting committee of the county board has met on several occasions to develop a redistricting plan to provide for districts with nearly equal populations, and whereas the committee reached an agreement to remain with 17 districts that would be in compliance with the statutory requirements, and whereas county municipalities have reviewed ward boundaries developed by the county's committee. Now be it resolved that the attached ordinance be adopted with redistricts which redistricts the county's 17 county board supervisory district. Okay, introduced by this property committee, or executive finance committee. Motion then to get it on the floor.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
And we have a second. Anybody have any further questions on the redistricting plan? We were all pretty much in on that, so. And ladies, you did a great job with that.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I was tongue-in-cheek going to recommend that we allow them, if so desired, to work with Milwaukee County, who seems to be having a really hard time with theirs.
For a
Just-
price.
Just for a price, just to show them how it can be done.
Well, and I think they did a great job just doing it with no regard to where people are right now. So it was truly done the way it was meant to be done. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of establishing the established supervisory district signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, so that has been passed then. Okay, and then, okay, Tim is not here yet, so, okay, moving on to number 14, discussion, possible action, accountability for allocation of general transportation aid revenue. And who's going to take the lead on this?
I will do that, Chuck, since I brought it. Or I asked for these next two items to be placed on the agenda.
Okay,
And the reason for the first one is the surprise that I think the whole committee received a few weeks ago when we learned of the size of the payment from the GTA and the fact that we didn't know about that payment. So what I'm asking for, what I'd like the committee to talk about, I didn't put action on here, but I'd like to
I'm sorry.
hold on, Chuck.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'd like the committee to talk about the accountability for that money. Who's going to watch it, or how are we, in the future, how are we going to be sure that we know where the money is? And what is the, if Paul hadn't brought it up, I never would have known. I've been on this committee for 8 years. So, John, I guess I'd like to address that to you. You're the Highway Committee Chairman. Does the Highway Committee know about the existence of this, or to make a decision to say, we're going to put $800,000 into the long sheets, but really we have $1,149,000 of check coming in?
Not sure how to really answer that, but at one time, that was about the amount we were getting. It's gone up because we borrowed money. The more money you spend in the country, the more you get in general transportation.
I get that, but what I
So
want.
that's why it's increased.
What I'd like to do before.
And it still goes into that, it'll still be used the same as the 800,000, except we do the same thing with other things too, with our sales tax. We under budget it, and we get more than what we save. You know, there's general transportation aid has gone up over the past few years, but for a while there, it wasn't good. If you go back 20 years ago when they put the freeze on, they took all the money from the Department of Transportation to balance the budget in the state of Wisconsin. It's been taking years to get back to where we're supposed to be. So that's part of the reason all this stuff has happened. But if you want it reported as 1 million versus the 800,000 or 600,000, I forget what it's at right now, but Al's here, he could answer that question better than I can. You want to speak to that, Al?
Actually, it's not a question for, well, okay, but in Doc has.
Go ahead, Doc.
Well, you brought up an interesting comment there that we do that with sales tax, but we know that every month.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Tim's asking, that could we somehow,
Well, we don't.
annually at least, know that figure's out there, because I'm like Tim, been on this committee for 3 years or whatever, and I've never known the difference, I guess.
Well, and Chuck, can I?
Go ahead,
I'm sort of piggybacking on what you're saying. The analogy doesn't quite hold, because the money that comes into the general fund can be used for anything. Or I mean, it's not earmarked for anything, whereas the general transportation aids, whether they're $800,000 or $1.1 million, are earmarked for something. Correct? I mean, they can only be used for one thing. So, and I think what for me, what raised a flag, in a sense, was we were looking to balance our budget, and there's $300,000 of extra income, which we could then apply to the budget that we didn't know existed. So in a sense, we were bouncing around in the dark without knowledge of it. And even though, because there was some money, you were asking for some money from the levy, which we could then lower by $300,000 and then help to balance the budget. That's the kind of accounting that even if we know it's earmarked for something, it's something the Exec Finance Committee needs to know about in the process of balancing the budget.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was my concern when this was raised. Sorry, Al, did I steal any thunder?
No. I have a further concern. I'm glad that, I think George clarified my surprise. But I have a further concern that money not be allowed to keep building and building. If we keep that account. If we can keep borrowing $5 million a year, then we could probably anticipate that this, $1.13 million a year will keep flowing in. The highway department has to set a limit on the amount of money. I understand you need the money to buy stuff, or crush rock, or asphalt, or something like that. I understand that. But there's got to be a limit on that. I mean, you don't need more and more and more and more and more indefinitely. And that's what I'd like to see this committee at least talk about, is setting a cap on the amount of money going into those two funds. I hesitate to say it should be X dollars or X dollars, because I'm not on the committee and I don't run the highway department. But I do think that if we're going to borrow $5 million a year for the next 5 years, and that could go up to $10 million for all I know, and nobody knows about it except Al and John. So I'd like to see at least talk about putting a cap on that, or providing some accountability for where that money is. Al, you can address it now.
Okay. So I love this discussion too. This is great. Just a little education. So GTA, it sounds like, Tim, you're getting GTA, this general transportation aid, confused with our machinery fund.
Isn't that where it goes?
No. That's exactly why I'm clarifying this, because you're confused on that part. So GTA, it's based on a calculation from the DOT that they get numbers from our auditors when we get audited every year. It happens at all 72 highway departments in the state of Wisconsin. The auditors submit money to the state based on our construction, our capital improvement program, basically. Doesn't really, not maintenance, not chip sealing, crack filling, it's road construction. The more road construction we do, it goes into these big calculations that they have down at DOT, and I've tried to make sense of it. I'm a mathematical person, and it's still very confusing for me to figure out all the numbers in that formula. But as we do more construction, the auditors, there's something the auditors do in this process that tells the state that Trempealeau County is doing more road construction. That starts to increase our GTA, our General Transportation Aid. It's a 6-year moving average. So that money then comes to us, and it goes, we put it in our 53311 road maintenance account, this General Transportation Aid. That's what it goes into, and that's the account we use for ditch mowing, for brushing, for pothole patching, things like that. So then, as we perform this work.
Hey, Al.
Yeah.
Paul was talking.
I'm sorry.
So I missed.
I know that the thing was on your desks.
So what does the GTA funds go for?
It comes to us and it goes into our road maintenance, not road construction, our road maintenance.
And not equipment maintenance?
And not that machinery fund that you guys
Machinery
are talking about, that, that $4 million balance does not go into there. We can't. The machinery fund, the only money that comes into that is money that we make off of the revenues from using equipment. So we get this 1.3 million of GTA. Or it's 1.14.
Go ahead.
I think okay, so I'm going to try to understand the logic of the general transportation aids. We're doing more road construction, new construction, replacement. The state thinks, well, now that you've got these new roads, you're going to have to maintain these roads, so we're going to give you more money to do the maintenance on the roads, the ditching, the mowing, the whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's their theory.
That's their logic. Okay, I'm getting this now.
Yep. So as we bond this $5 million, we get this 1.15 from the GTA, it goes in our maintenance. So as we're out performing the work now we got a dump truck out on the job. It's hauling blacktop out to a road. Dump truck is $48 an hour. That's the money that goes into our machinery fund. Dump trucks, the asphalt rollers, the ditch mowing machines, the pickup trucks that the workers are driving from the shop to get out to the job site. We have different rates that are set by DOT. It's a very elaborate process that they came up with decades ago. It's very scrutinized by lots of higher-up folks in the DOT. But that's how we get money from our road construction 5-year bond money, from this GTA aid money that we use to do our road maintenance with. The money comes from there. We charge our equipment with the use of that money, and it's just the equipment rates that go into that machinery fund.
Mr. Chair, just
Go ahead, George.
So our concern has to do with the GTA money, which is going into a road maintenance fund, not an equipment maintenance fund. It's going into a road maintenance fund. The amount of money we get is based on a 6-year rolling average. One of the components has to do with the amount of money we spend on new construction. We're committed to 5 years, $5 million a year of new construction. So in time, and it sounds like it's more than 20% that comes back to us each year. In time, with the rolling average, we could be getting closer to $2 million a year, possibly. Is there, and then the question is, where is the line item that says we're going to be spending $1.5 million a year on road maintenance? I guess, for me, that was the issue that has come up. Where's the designated line item that this money is going to? And are we, in fact, spending that much money?
Yep.
So we've got the income, all we saw.
I agree. Okay.
All we saw was the income line, and as it's become obvious, we are unclear where it is that money was designated for.
Yep.
Maybe Paul has.
Do you want to grab your budget sheets, the long ones? And it's on the last page, page 7.
Buried it.
Well, that's because they're a
Always look at the last
701.
page first.
What?
You should always look at the last page first.
There you go. Well, about, what is that, about in the middle, 53311, maintenance. This is what,
There it is, it jumps off the page.
there it is. So the actual spent in 2020 was 1.45 million. Way over what they projected. And if you go over to the budget request, the request is 1.46 million. And then that next line is the 1.149734, which is the estimated GTA. So we are levying 310,000. So that's where it shows the expense. They're planning on doing 1.46 million, getting 1.1, well, yeah, just about 1.15 from GTA, and the rest is the levy.
So your plan is to do $1.5 million worth of road maintenance this year?
And if you look in the top, the first column, that's what they did in 2020.
Right, clearly almost that, yeah.
So
Okay.
It'll show
basically,
that they
you,
budgeted 1.3 for 2021, which they're definitely going to
Yeah.
hit that.
And we're gonna run in the hole before the end of December.
so you prioritize your maintenance, and when you run out of money, you just stop maintenance at that point.
Yeah, I mean, as we're getting close to end of December, if I gotta kind of throttle back and pull, luckily we have the non-lapsing accounts here. We'll get it replenished come January 1. But yeah, I try not to get too far in the hole, you know, but we will be going in the hole here in December. So I'll be kind of backing the guys down. We'll do a little less brushing as we hit the end of the year, and then we'll kind of pick back up in January.
So you could spend all of it every year if you.
Oh, yeah.
Easily, yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But so if, well, you probably don't recall, but anyway, so, well, when I started here, I looked at what prior commissioners did, and I made myself spreadsheets of 7-year averages and 5-year averages and kind of looked at, oh, what should I do? And I noticed that the 53311, it was very low. And 2 years ago, it was the first time I asked for a pretty significant levy increase. Just because I knew that we can spend it, we need to do more brushing, more mowing. Mainly, it was a lot of the brushing and the mowing that I wanted to increase it for. So I did increase it 2 years ago. Last year, I asked for a little bit more of an increase, and I didn't get it. It was like only 80 or 90,000. And this year, I asked for that same increase, and I did get it. However, with the increase in the GTA, I mean, yes, it'd be nice if I could submit my budget request in, when do we do that? August, I think we send it to you. I wish I knew that. I didn't know it was gonna be the 1.15 million. However, when we come for our budget hearings, that's when it's like, oh, you guys got 1.15. Now, remember how we knocked 300 grand off that day? So it was just a little later on, a month later than you would have liked. As you said, you're racking your brain and, September, and then come October is when all of a sudden we get our GTA and like, hey, we can knock off 300 grand. Now, next year on my budget request, I'll probably get a little bit closer to this 1.15 million because I'm pretty sure it should go up again next year.
It should keep increasing slightly.
Yeah,
Because
it
of the
should keep
6-year
going
rolling
up.
average, but for a while we weren't doing it, so
It
it
was
was at one
stagnant.
point, it was kind of stagnant.
The 6-year average, it takes a while for that to, for us to feel that here, on our budget sheets. But yeah, next year I'll probably submit my budget request for anticipating getting a GTA around 1.15, and then you'll know right away in September, like, oh, we can levy even less for Al on his 53311 account.
By doing that 6-year average, instead of doing it year by year, instead of having these big jumps and
It
falls.
must be, yeah.
It kind of just smooths it out more.
Yes, correct. Yeah, you don't have big spikes, and it's easier to predict.
Where something may happen one year, a storm goes through and you got all kinds of cleanup and.
And last year, remember, we didn't get our GTA letter till, budget was, it was like December, I think, when I had found out what our GTA was gonna be. This year, we got it between my budget request and the budget hearing is when it came in.
It's dated September
23rd.
23rd. Your first budget hearing was after that, and your
The
callback was 2
hearing,
weeks
correct,
later.
yeah.
Budgets were due August 20-something.
Yeah.
Paul, where is that $349,000 now?
Where is it right now? On these sheets?
Anywhere, just where is it?
Okay, it's on that page 7, next to the last column.
Isn't your question what
Oh, the other part?
No, it is, where is that money?
It will, well, it's for next year coming in, but it's right here in the 53311 on page 7. In the
Is it
next
then
slide.
earmarked for highway and we cannot use it to balance the
Earmarked for
general?
maintenance.
Well, okay, highway
Maintenance.
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 But then we cannot use it to balance the budget.
We did use it to balance the budget.
How the hell did we do that?
Because
By lowering
we,
the levy request.
the levy request
The
went
levy
down.
request was 600,000, we lowered it 300,000.
Yep.
It was 600.
It was, if you find one of your older ones of these, I didn't bring one of those with, you'll see that over there it was like 600. If you got one of your older ones handy, it'd have to be way back and,
I just wanted to run through that.
Yeah, it was the same thing last year. I came in, I requested 800,000 last year, and at the budget hearing, it was, how did that work? We did find it.
yeah, but we didn't drop it last year.
We didn't get the letter, but we dropped our levy again because I had my request in, my GTA came in higher, so it was that difference, my levy amount dropped that day of the budget hearing.
I'm understanding better where the money comes from, why it comes, when it comes, and what it is to be used for. And thank you for splitting that road maintenance, equipment maintenance idea.
Tim, you satisfied then, or?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other discussion then regarding this topic?
There was, Chuck.
I have also the next one, so I'm going to
Okay,
be talking.
there was one other issue, and that is I think that we can sort of release the concept that this budget will continue to increase every year because it sounds like it's being used every year. It isn't like, we have an extra 500,000, the next year we have another 500,000. Rather, all this highway maintenance money is being used. The 5311 account is being used up every year.
And we do
It
feel.
doesn't accumulate.
We feel a savings here on our end, so like with this, it's the next item here, but, we're bonding this $5 million of road construction. So that's allowing us to do more road construction, which we're reporting that to the state through our audit process. Our GTA will continue to rise, and as that rises, we feel the savings when I'm gonna come in with my normal maintenance budget request, but with that GTA amount being, next year, I don't know, it could be 1.2 million. So then, on my budget request, I'm gonna request, it'll be less of a levy. So that's where it'll be easier for you guys to balance your budget. So the road bonding money, that $5 million we're getting, is gonna help with balancing the overall budget for the entire county and taking less out of general fund.
Is there a point, Al, at which road construction could taper off? You
Absolutely.
can't keep on, do we need to spend $5 million indefinitely? Or-
Yeah, and I'm not just saying this because I love building roads. No, we do. It can't taper. I was telling the committee a while ago, initially when I came in here 2 years ago, I said, well, it's 5 years, I need $5 million, and then maybe after that 5 years, maybe we could taper down or back off. Well, I was only here for 1 year at that point, and that time, it's apparent, no, we're not gonna be able to. In addition to materials costs will be even more in, 3 more years from now, because we're 2 years into our 5-year thing. Material costs are gonna be up, wages are gonna be higher. In addition, what's that?
Use is going to be.
Use is gonna be higher, and then the roads that, I'm not even talking about reconstructing in the next 5 years, those are now gonna be on the radar to get reconstructed in that next 5 year, and so it's just a revolving cycle that never ends. And, and if, we're doing a ride around for Highway Committee here this coming Thursday, but I would encourage any county board member to hop in, we got a 12-person van, and, because I know a lot of board members, they only ride the houses, or the roads between their house and where they shop. They're not riding, like, you probably don't get on W and S on the east side of the county, or Double D down by Galesville and Double O that goes across. Some of these roads are really bad. And right now, some of those are in my 5-year plan, some are gonna be a little bit beyond that, But there's roads right now that we're getting by, but in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, those need reconstruction. So it's, this $5 million bonding that we're doing, it's not going to be able to taper off, no. It won't.
We had a rotation, like, it was probably a 7-year rotation, and it's keep shortening up. We want to get to like a 20-year rotation and everything.
Yeah. A lot of the problem lies, and prior to me coming here, I was looking at the amount of mileage that our highway department reconstructed, and it was 3 to 5 miles a year for the last 20 years. So there's just been so much, deterioration of the roads that weren't getting reconstructed over these last 30 years. Now here I am asking for this money. Yeah, I agree. That sounds like a lot. Why all of a sudden is it me asking for this money? It's just I'm recognizing the trend that was happening here can't continue. These roads, we're to the point we need to rebuild these roads that are falling apart, and a lot of them, they're too narrow. We got wider equipment, more traffic, so the bonding, the borrowing, it has to continue.
The culverts, the bridges.
Yeah, it's a never-ending cycle. I mean, the roads that I'm rebuilding now, in 30 years from now, they're gonna have to probably get rebuilt. I mean, pavements are designed for a 30-year life cycle. That's with proper maintenance in between, where you do your crack filling, you do your couple cycles of chip sealing, but after 30 years, I mean, they're so deteriorated that they need to get reconstructed.
Okay,
Good explanation.
everyone had a chance to get their questions answered on this? Okay, should we, as long as we're talking about these discussions, or should we go back to the budget, because Tim is now here?
Chuck, can we do that one? It'll be real.
Yeah, it'll be same type of thing, so just
Well-
number 15, the 1 to 5 year
1 to 5
borrowing
year
plan
plan,
kind of
okay.
ties in with this?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, go ahead.
Everything Al said ties in with it. And I asked to put this on the agenda, and I'll backtrack a little, give you some. I was contacted by, these are people who picked up the phone, called me, 2 former county board members, expressing concern about how much money we're borrowing. Sort of saying, Tim, you're on the exec committee, can you think about some financial sobriety here? I mean, think about that. The county has borrowed $35 million or so for the healthcare center, not so long ago, and we're still paying off that loan. The county borrowed $40 million for the new building project, just getting it, paying that off. We borrowed $5 million for renovation of this building. 3? Okay, more money for that. The county's borrowing $5 million a year. It looks like the county's borrowing $5 million for road construction. Telling me, and both of these people they're both sitting in districts that are now, they would be unopposed if they ran. And, I guess it kind of shook me a little bit, because people who are here all the time kind of think, oh yeah, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do that. And we get sort of a kind of a closed loop of thinking about where we're at or where we're going. And these phone calls kind of said, well, wait a minute, there's another point of view from people who are really interested in the future of the county, but who are not sitting on the board, but who might be sitting on the board. I should bring that up. And I'm bringing it up. What are we doing here in the next 1 to 5 years? This is speculative. It's George Brand territory. We're all thinking about what should we do in the future. But I think it's an appropriate discussion right now, especially we're just about to move into talking about specifics about this year's budget. So how many more years of highway construction are we going to borrow for? Or the park, we just approved acquisition of some land for the park. The park, that committee is going to come back there and say, we need X amount of $1 million to build our water feature, right?
Might be a water feature, it's a development plan. There will be a
Okay, but
development plan.
water feature is what I heard over and over and over and over and over. And you weren't at that meeting about the property people where I voiced some skepticism about getting into spending money on water features, or swimming pools for your kids. But I guess I do think we need to think about, especially this committee is going to be different next year. At least think about where are we going? So it's a speculative. You know, but, and that's all I'm gonna do. I'm not suggesting anything specific, but I'd like to bring it up and at least put it on somewhere on everybody's mental agenda for consideration. Just how many more things are we gonna buy with borrowed money?
So there is concern from the general
Yes.
public.
I think, I know that one person calls me frequently, and he lives in my district, but he won't be in my district next time. And every time, I always listen, because I know he's got a point of view, he's got a whole constituency that isn't mine. He's got a whole group, family, relative, friends, all these connections that isn't mine. And I listen to that guy. Okay, so I'm bringing it up for everybody.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Tim or any other general questions?
Can I engage
Again, it's
with this one?
how far are you gonna go with borrowed money? How much money is the county gonna borrow?
So, if it's okay, I'm just gonna turn that slightly. The budgets reflect priorities. We've prioritized a new justice center, which is something we've been talking about for almost as long as I've been on the board, at least 15 years. And that's what the borrowing of the $43 million is about. We have prioritized the replacement of the highways, which we have ignored for almost as long as I've been on the board, which is over 20 years. And so our budgets and our borrowing, for that matter, have reflected that. Now, in long term, I'm going to suggest that the current makeup of the board, I love you all, by the way, does not reflect the demographic of the county in terms of age, ethnicity, gender, whatever, So we tend to think like guys over 60, So I would hope that where it's going is going to be a conversation with all the people in the county about what they want the county to be, or not even to be, just to look like. What sort of services are offered to the people of the county, how are needs met in the county, and that will reflect what we borrow money for. I suspect we're always going to be borrowing money for highway, because people are going to need to get to the water feature at the park, or to the canoe landing in Arcadia, or something like that. That's the kind of conversation I'm looking forward to, because we need to have that conversation. What does this county look like in 20 years? That's what land use planning is about. That's what every department does, is plan by looking into the future. So we will. It manifests itself in the budget, which doesn't always reflect specifically what it is that people in the county are thinking about, whether your constituents or folks who aren't calling us. So that's my answer to your question.
It's a thought question. I don't write. It was a thought question. Yeah.
Any other discussion on this topic?
Can I just throw one thing?
Go
in?
ahead, Paul.
The one thing with our financial advisors too in this continued borrowing is the concern that they're going to be longer, these $5 million, if we do it every year, are going to be longer terms, just to keep our debt level. So that's one thing we got to keep in mind, because now this one for next year, 5.8 million it's going to be. Brian's planning on a 10-year payback, where all our other ones were 5-year paybacks. Payoffs, I should say, not backs, but.
That unpaid debt will accumulate every time we do it.
Yeah, so now it's going to be a 10-year payback on the next one.
But we are keeping, say, the mill rate fairly
Yes, that's
level.
the big thing that we're working on, is make sure the mill rate stays.
Which is the way we're
stable.
selling this.
Actually, the mill rate actually went down, did it?
Overall, it did, because our equalized value went up
Valuation
quite a
went up,
bit.
yeah.
Our net new construction didn't, but our equalized value did, and that helped us.
Well, and new roads will help people move here, businesses to expand. Okay, anything else then? Okay, we'll jump back. jump back to our county budget update. Thank you.
I'm gonna run the back.
Okay, I'm gonna have, Tim's gonna come up here too. I gave you new worksheets that, should say November 1st on the top there. Or actually, she put final, didn't she?
Yeah.
Well, it might be the first final. Anyway, I think I have talked to most of you, maybe not all of you, about the little snafu we had in regards to the GTA. Last meeting we had, when we finalized the budget, we took the $349,000 increase in GTA against the levy. Well, when we got done doing it, we found out that we had already put it in there. So it was like the $349,000 was twice. So that kind of hit me pretty hard. I mean, I was pretty upset with myself on that. Stacy knew what was happening, so she put it in the sheets
Stacy did it.
when she.
We did it when Stacy.
When Paul was gone there for
Paul
a
was
couple days,
out.
Stacy was right.
I said, I blame a lot on my sickness, but I still should have been a little more observant of it. So anyway, if you go to page 4 of the long sheets, because we did find a little bit in the health insurance recoveries. Some departments are able to recover expenses. And so that increase in the health insurance that we had already factored in, we were able to take off quite a bit off of the levy by that money coming back in. So if you look on page 4, first section, the last thing, it says general fund applied. When we thought we were done last time we met, that was $12,000, and now it's $285,000, which is the net of the health insurance revenues and the rest coming from the general fund. So the budget as it is right now, we're taking $385,602.91 out of the general fund. 285,602.91 out of the general fund to balance our budget.
Our current general fund,
3.3 million
3.3 million.
unassigned.
So it's lucky you didn't agree with me to take out that 500. I was asking to take out the general fund. Look at it that way.
So anyway,
I suggested taking to pay for what this.
oh yeah, some of those things there that we're going to be borrowing for.
For borrowing, I suggested that we take it out of the general fund. And Tim suggested we didn't, now all of a sudden we need 285.
So I'm curious as to why Tim is at the table.
Well, something developed after we finished our.
Well, that's what we were gonna pay for Tim's out of the general fund, yeah, that's what I was
His
hoping.
531,000 is coming out of borrowing. But is it law enforcement?
Law Enforcement Committee.
Oh, okay, now, it just came into focus, okay, yes. Go ahead, Tim, you do
Well,
the explaining.
this is
You just came into it, you
This
do
is
the
going to be
explaining.
another hit anyway, so
What was the number on that?
I don't have it, because
It was around 500,000.
No, this is separate. This is an after request. We've put in multiple grant requests to the people who are assisting us with grant processes for a next-gen 911 grant, and it got denied in 2020 and made no move here, but the Sheriff's Department forgot to include it in their budget. There was a miscommunication between dispatch, IT, and the Sheriff's Office, and we just never bothered to enter it into the 2022 budget.
Oh.
So I did the project initiation form. Law Enforcement Committee met and approved it, and we were hoping to submit it on top of the 2022 budget CIP items, since it was a CIP purchase.
CIP.
Capital improvement. which is generally funds that are eligible for borrowing. So Paul told me that we were allowed to bring it before this committee at the end to see if it would be something that you would consider.
Under borrowing.
Right. Because you can't change the budget.
Right.
But the law enforcement's already approved it.
Yes, sir. They approved bringing it forward to you. They don't have the authority to say, yes, we're going to do this.
Is there room to borrow it? I mean, can we?
Well, we're at 5.8 million right now
Okay.
borrowing. That's up
gonna push
about
it.
$500,000 from what we've
Go
been
over
borrowing
6.
every year.
So then we'd be borrowing over 6 million.
This is
remember that?
$49,000.
Oh, I thought it was 409. Okay,
So another 49.
49,000.
And that's a 5-year cost up front.
Why was it rejected from the grants?
Because the Next Gen 911 grant, I don't understand why it was rejected, but we went through Integrity Group, or the Sheriff's Office went through Integrity Group, and they just said it's not available for this, so.
This is separate from the FEMA
It's
money.
important, but it's not important enough to give us the-
Well, Next Gen 911 funding probably slid to the back of the line in the middle of the COVID thing, where it was all the rage. We have to replace this equipment because 911 calls, they can't locate the caller. So making Next Gen 911 used to be the big thing, and now the funding for it, I think, is just been reshuffled somewhere else.
right. I
Can
remember.
I ask?
Go ahead,
So
quick,
this,
quick, George.
having been involved in emergency services some years ago, basically what this means is now that everyone's calling in on their cell phones, there's no landline that lights up with an address. Rather, it locates it through GPS.
There are features in the existing dispatch systems across the country that fail in that regard, but they also fail to take advantage of the technology in other ways. You can't text 911. You can't send a photo to 911. So this is part of an
Ooh, that would
overall
be
process
cool.
to digitize the entire experience of interacting with law enforcement. And this is one particular tool that's used in dispatch, and it's called a logging system. Logs the calls, marks the time. And we now have a medical system called ProQA, but the important part of the ProQA is the QA part. We have a medical director for our dispatch center that needs to review those calls and make sure that they're doing the system properly, because if they don't, then the system doesn't work the way it's intended. Dispatchers don't get corrected when they make mistakes, and then you're getting inappropriate medical. So this is the piece that allows the other piece you've already deployed to work properly. If we don't add this piece, in order for them to do quality assurance, it's a hit or miss. They can't match up the times. The files aren't set up that way. So they'd have to do a lot of extra work, and it's likely not going to come to pass.
So what you're coming, and what we were asking for is to increase the borrowing by $49,000.
Right. And I can produce this particular number once I return to my desk and come back for Paul, if you want that actual number, but I can produce the whole report if you'd like.
I guess what at least, because it's a little more, it's not complicated, but there is another choice, which would be to take the money out of the general fund.
That's what I'm in favor of.
I mean, I don't, so you can add $49,000 to the amount of money we're borrowing. That's option one. Option two, take another $49,000 out of the general
And
fund.
you're saying we have an ample,
We have two options. I'm not advocating one or the other, but I guess I'd like to talk about two options instead of one option.
and you're saying we have an ample
To address,
reserve.
to address that wouldn't come out of the budget per se, then that could come out of this year's, so we could move forward. I could take the quote we got now,
That would be if we took it out of the
if
general
you
fund.
took it out of general fund. So there's an advantage there as well, because then that locks that quote down, and we could move forward pretty quickly and
I'm
get this
agreeing with
going.
Tim. I think we should take it from general fund. I hate every freaking other week calling Brian Riley to increase this loan deal.
Go ahead, Paul.
Can I ask one question now? You mentioned it was around 49,000. That's an upfront cost.
That's the total upfront cost.
And but you said it was a 5-year.
It funds it for 5 years. So we'd come with everything we need, and we wouldn't need any more.
Totally
You'd
fund.
spend it all in the first year.
Correct.
Oh, then general fund makes the best sense.
they did offer a payment plan where we could do it over 5 years. I said, we don't like payment plans, we'd like to do it all at once.
There's usually hidden things in there.
Exactly.
Just add that to 285, 49.
No, I'm not even gonna touch,
We don't even have to
it's
put it
not
in.
even gonna touch this budget.
Don't even have to put it in.
We're
the
gonna come
budget.
in with a resolution probably at the December county
We couldn't
board.
act on that, taking it out of the general fund today, could we?
It's, well, no, because
Well, what
I
we
don't
have in
think
there is
technically.
update budget
I could bring this back to the December 6th meeting? I'm
Yeah, and
guessing
we'd
that's
all
then.
agree that we are gonna pass it.
And then we'd-
As, yes, okay,
And
so
then
take
you
no
could vote on it
action,
in December.
no action on the budget, we'll say no action on the budget, and agree to take it out of the general fund in December.
Just come up with a resolution for it.
Yeah.
So you need a resolution on December 6th?
Yes.
Yes.
And then we'll go from there, yep.
Okay.
And you know you will be getting it before the first of the year.
Yes. The punt ultimate day before
I
that.
think you made a motion, didn't you?
Nobody did, no, I don't.
We
It doesn't require a
we
motion
don't need
anymore,
to do
right?
anything
We're still working
because
on the
no action
finalization
on
of
the
the
budget,
budget, and this is something that
unless
could
there's
have
something else on
affected
the budget. Was that the
Just
only
add it to
item?
the sheriff's cost this year or something.
Yep.
Okay.
That was the only item in regards to the budget.
it. Right. and-
So no
and-
action is necessary then?
No, but, so we're gonna say that this is still the final then?
Yes. Do we need to approve the budget then? I think we had, hadn't we?
You did it already, yes,
Yes,
but
okay.
because of some unforeseen at first things that happened that I missed, that's
So
why I
does-
wanted to bring it up again to,
So do we don't need to take any action on the budget?
no.
Okay.
So this is the
Finally.
this is the budget that's going to the board next week?
Yeah.
Okay, we good with that then? Okay, let's see, moving on then to TV studio renaming. And we have a resolution for that, which I will read.
And I think Derek's gotta be around.
There he is. Okay,
Just calling Rob Grover might be a good time to come
renaming
down.
of the TV studio, the Community Television Office, and the Agricultural University Extension Committee. Whereas Trempealeau County has maintained a county-run television studio known as TCC-TV in the Community Television Office for many years. Whereas with the ever-evolving methods of communications, the Community Television Office is looking to rebrand its services by renaming the office to the Digital Media Department and renaming the TV studio to WTCO. Whereas the name Digital Media Department would encompass all forms of communication that can be utilized on behalf of the county, and whereas Trempealeau County Ordinance 2.04, parentheses 9, parentheses C, identifies the Oversight Committee for what is currently known as a Community Television Office / TCCTV. And whereas the Oversight Committee name is being revised from Agricultural / University Extension to Extension Education and Communication to reflect the changes being proposed, and whereas to reflect the changes in the names to Digital Media Department, WTCO, and Extension and Education and Communication, this section of the ordinance needs to be amended. Now be it resolved that the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors hereby approves changing the name of TCCTV to WTCO, of the Community Television Office to Digital Media Department, and the Agricultural / University Extension to Extension Education and Communication. And be it further resolved that the Trempealeau County Ordinance 2.04, parentheses 9, parentheses C, be modified as attached to reflect such changes. And this was introduced by the Agriculture Extension Committee, Kellen Nelson, Doug Winters, Richard Sasha, Dan Schreiner. And I guess we're ready with that then. Motion to approve,
Second.
and we have a second. Any questions for
Yeah,
Derek?
we have to let, let Derek talk about this. Sell this, Derek.
All right, so the committee name, they've already been meeting as the Extension Education and Communications Committee for quite a while. The Digital Media Department, we do more than community television in our department. We do like poster design, graphic design, internal video. We do more than just community television. So digital media kind of encompasses that whole aspect of, anything that people need us to do for them digitally. And then WTCO is a change because TCC TV, people kept thinking we were part of the cable company. We'd get phone calls about people's cable bills and their internet bills. And so when we chose the name, the way the FCC license actual broadcast stations is that anyone to the east of the Mississippi starts with a W and west starts with a K. So we chose a W just to kind of match, like WEAU and all the stations around us. And then the T is for Trempealeau and the CO is for county. So we figured it was just, a nice name to put to the station.
Go ahead, George.
You came to us a couple of months ago with a similar resolution, but what I noticed that has changed is there's no longer any sense that this is the WTCO or the digital media, and actually the digital media department name has changed. The original request was to make the TV studio the spokesman for the county, and that raised a whole bunch of flags because we already have spokespeople and there are other folks who are responsible for certain aspects of communicating with the public. So I support this now, and I had concerns last time because you are not indicating a role as spokesperson for the county, but rather as a service that the county provides for departments and citizens.
Mhm.
Okay. And I get the WTCO thing.
Okay, any other questions for Derek?
I don't have any for Derek, but I would like to hear from Rob, whatever. I guess I'd like to hear more perspective on this. What does Rob have to say? And that gentleman in the corner who's been sitting here for 2 hours, what does he have to say? He's using up a lot of his time. I'd like to hear from him.
Why don't you guys pull in over here, okay?
Forgive me, are you talking about the WTCO?
Yeah, I mean, do you have something to
Well,
add?
because we have a
add or
TCC
subtract?
representative here.
No, we don't really have anything to add. The naming doesn't, for us, but.
Rob, do you have anything to add or subtract?
Is the change just to change the name of the?
It's 3 names.
There's 3 things in there, resolution.
That's why,
Committee name.
holy cow,
Committee
you know.
name.
The station branding.
Yep.
And the department to digital media department.
Oh, well, I mean,
John,
just to add.
I gotta go to school.
Are you changing the
Okay.
name of the
I gotta head off
committee
to school.
too?
Yeah.
What's the new committee
we got
gonna be
the
called?
worst of it.
Yeah, we got.
Extension, education, and communications, which is what they've already been meeting under for.
Okay.
So this affects the county board rules, basically.
I guess I can't speak to the specifics, but I will say our department, the economic development, and specifically the tourism piece of our department, has worked a lot closer with WTCO than we ever have before in terms of communicating to the public tourism assets, what's going on in Trempealeau County, whether it's through our program Discover Trempealeau County, whether it's, we're doing Facebook Lives that they share, whether they're editing content for us, that sort of thing. So, in my opinion, yes, I think they're doing their mission has expanded a lot more than just the studio. They are doing a lot of things for the county. I just can only speak to, again, my department and the work we do with the studio. Very rare that a rural county especially, but most counties in the state don't have a studio, a station in-house. So our ability to have them make content for us and help us communicate our message out to the broader public has, again, I just think, especially in the last year, working with Derek, we've done a lot more having them work with us. So, the specifics of their proposal, I can't speak to that, but from my perspective, they're doing more than ever to help communicate what's going on with the county, so.
That's what I was asking.
Yep.
I just,
You bet.
any points of view, often somebody shines the light on something and illuminates something that nobody else ever thought of.
Yep.
And I do have one more, I don't know, that's not a concern, maybe it may be, I might suggest an amendment. Derek, so we're talking about 3 name changes. The third one, I've got them kind of underlined here. The third one renames, doesn't that rename the committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
We put in committee, instead of extension, education, and communication, insert the word committee, so we know that we're renaming a committee.
Okay.
Would you have any objection, it's just maybe when Rick wrote this, he was just he has so many other, he just didn't include it. I would like to amend the resolution, I move to amend the resolution to insert the word committee in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. Whereas, insert the word committee after the word communication so that the resolution reads Extension, Education, and Communication Committee.
Is there a
Did you
second
say
to
number
that?
6?
Tim,
two,
I would-
three,
whereas.
four.
I would say put it in the first, now therefore be it resolved.
Yeah, you'd have to change it in 5 too if you wanted to do it in 6.
In any place where.
Any place where it appears. Okay, I just didn't read it
Oh,
fast enough.
there you go. I can do that.
I'll second that.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion?
Now, this is just the amendment.
Yeah,
right?
vote to approve the amendment to add the word committee after communication wherever it applies. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Any further discussion on the resolution?
Just a reminder that this is already represented in the Change County Board rules.
Okay.
Except for the word committee.
Do we have to get that, make sure that's in the county board rules then too? Okay.
It is.
Okay. Vote on the resolution as amended. We had a motion and a second before for the, all those in favor of the rule as, resolution as amended, signifying the voting, I was gonna say signifying the voting sign of a Voyager. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried.
There you go.
Thank you.
I think we're on item 18, right?
Yep.
Discussion action of the ARPA funds.
May I
Yeah.
introduce this section of it? Will Buck and Rob are here. So some time ago, the Exec Finance Committee
That's what.
had indicated a desire to entertain suggestions on how to use the ARPA funds for those elements of that the Treasury Department and the Biden administration had indicated were important to use them for. John has been updating me on the possibility that those restrictions might be going away and that we can use them as will. But having heard that, it seems to me that the discussion should continue about where needs are within the community, within the county, as it relates to public health issues, mental health issues, the needs of families for things like broadband expansion, child care, educational issues, public safety, governmental shortfalls in governmental funding, as well as the other issues that relate to the original ARPA suggestions. So, to that end, I asked Rob and a number of other department heads, public health, extension, conservation, and human services, senior services, to come to this committee with suggestions on how this money might be used. Now, this is our first presentation. It's the beginning of a discussion. Rob's going to point out that expanding broadband, we could use up all the money, and that isn't a serious discussion point, but it'll show you where some.
It is,
Well, it
actually.
is. It'll show you where the needs are and what the limitations are in terms of meeting those needs. So.
How much money is there, George?
Pardon?
How much money is there? What's the ARPA grant?
Rob.
Total.
It's five.
If we get it all, it'll be $5.6 million. 5.7, I think it's almost, 5.7
Gosh, that's
million.
close to the number in front. What a
We've only
coincidence.
gotten half of it so far.
And we do have half of it, and we haven't been spending it because we haven't prioritized it, and we're also waiting for final rules and so forth. But what I'm going to try to do every month for the next 2 or 3 months is bring 1 or 2 recommendations for us to consider as to where needs are, even if the restrictions on where it can be spent are taken away. I think this is a good time for this committee, much much as we discussed earlier, to look at where the needs are in the future for the county. So if it's okay with you, Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like Rob and Buck to go through their recommendation.
Could you introduce this gentleman?
I'll let Rob do that.
You bet. So you all know me, Rob Grover, Trempealeau County's Economic Development and Tourism Coordinator. And, well, Buck, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Buck Webb, COO at Tri-County Communications.
There you go. And we're here today just to talk briefly about the idea of investing the county's ARPA funds into broadband expansion. You know, obviously, you've heard a lot about broadband expansion being talked about, I mean, for many years, and especially since the COVID period. You know, there's been opportunities where some monies have come down the pipe where they've been able to be invested into broadband expansion. And, you know, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this issue, and I think folks all over Trempealeau County are, is because we've seen, especially during the pandemic, where there is incredible inequities in Trempealeau County based on where you live and what kind of internet access you have. So, you know, back in March and April of 2020, when we saw schools shut down all over Trempealeau County, and all over, of course, the state and the country, it was mayhem for so many parents that did not have good internet connections. Now, those that lived in the cities predominantly or in areas where there was good connections, you know, they still were very stressed out because all of a sudden they're having to do online teaching. But folks that lived in a lot of the rural parts of the county had the extra layer of sometimes they just couldn't connect. You know, the speed wasn't fast enough to be able to do that work. And then, of course, you had many thousands of folks working from home. You know, I was one of those people. Many of us here in the courthouse were, many folks all over the county were. And it was a struggle to do quality work for a period of time, because at the time where I was living had, again, in a rural spot on a farm, very slow internet. So it became a real issue. But you know, it's not just about the pandemic, but of course some of those things we saw during the pandemic, working from home, students doing school from home, those aren't going away. There's also aspects on why expanding broadband access is so important to Trempealeau County. You know, one issue being telehealth. Obviously, we live in a county where there is a growing elderly population, and it's very tough for some folks to get to their medical appointments. But as that population, you know, many of those folks getting older, baby boomers and such, they're comfortable using the internet. But again, a lot of them live in areas where they maybe want to use telehealth options, but they really can't do it. They can't connect with that because of their internet access. Also, business and home development. You know, there are so many folks, and I guess I'll use people I know, my friends, for example. So I'm 36 years old, right? I have a lot of friends that went off to school somewhere else, would love to come back to Trempealeau County. Now they're at the age where they're starting their families or have their families. They'd love to move back to Trempealeau County, buy a home here, build a home here, start their business here. But they simply can't do it in major parts of the county because they don't have the ability to connect to the internet. And of course, it's not a luxury for them. It's not about watching their Netflix or their Hulu. It's about doing their work. It's about their kids being able to do their school. It's about running their at-home business or a business that they've started on their property. So again, that's one thing that I get a lot of calls about, and I'm sure Buck does quite a bit. Hey, where is the internet good in Trempealeau County? And that drives a lot of decision making. And I'm sure many of you have experienced that. People, you know, maybe your own children or different people that would love to live here in Trempealeau County, but it just would really be a challenge for them to do it. So what we're proposing for you just to think about and start considering is one example is if you were able to invest the whole $5.7 million into broadband expansion. You know, what we're looking at here, and Buck will go in more specifics just over kind of the budget here and the mapping as well. But, you know, with the $5.7 million, with matching grants possibly from the PSC, from investments from Tri-County Communications and the like, we're actually talking, you know, theoretically close to $25 million of broadband expansion here in Trempealeau County, which equals 455 miles of fiber, which is a lot of mileage. And again, in a county where we roughly have 2 to 3 people, I should add the miles plus the location, so about 1,200 already existing locations that would connect to broadband internet access. And in a county where we have 2 to 3 people living per household, on average, obviously some have a lot more, some have less, that is many thousands of people that are already here that would directly benefit from expanding into new areas. And also, when you lay miles, of course, obviously you're connecting from a house to a house, but when you lay mileage on a road, now all of a sudden, all the acreage that's connected to those roads, well, now there's all sorts of new opportunities for development, whether it's home or business, because again, now you've got good quality fiber going up your road. So I just think this would be an incredibly powerful and impactful thing for Trempealeau County to do. One nice aspect of the county going in on this is once, and Buck can correct me if I'm wrong, but once the fiber's in the ground, so for example, you'll have lots of good proposals, I'm sure, on where this money should go. But, if you use it to build a building, obviously the county, will have to figure out how to maintain that building down the road. You create new positions, the county down the road will have to figure out, once the money's gone, how do we keep funding those new positions we've created. But with this investment, it wouldn't be the county updating in the future, and I forget the lifespan of what we're putting in here, but 20, 30 years when there needs to be updates, it's not the county per se doing that, it becomes the utility doing that. So it's something for your consideration. I'm going to turn it over to Buck to go kind of through just some of the specifics, to talk you through, because you're looking at the numbers here and you see, well, how do we get to that 25 million, where does that come from? And then you've got a map here, and just to give you reference, the purple areas would be new areas to expand broadband into, but we just use this map as an example. So none of this is set in stone. Things could be adjusted, but it's really to illustrate the areas where we could do, the amount of area where we could do good, and the real impact it could have. So again, obviously this is the work I do, but every aspect, every citizen in Trempealeau County just about uses internet. And I don't know any project we could do as a county that would both have a more transformative effect on the individual lives of citizens in the county, adding to their quality of life, and would be a good long-term investment for the county as well, based on how these, how the fiber is maintained and that sort of thing. So I'll throw it over to Buck to talk a little bit, and then we'd be happy to take some questions. So.
All right, thanks, Rob. Can I ask, go ahead, before this gets lost in Buck's presentation? First of all, are we sure that using the money this way is consistent with the guidelines for ARPA? Broadband.
Yep.
And the second question about the map, I've been looking at the map, there's some rust-colored areas in 3-4 adjoining counties. Why are we even looking at those?
I want to hit on that. So, I want to start with the map. Again, I want to thank you to having us in here. The conversation kind of started because people are reaching out to us all the time in unserved areas. Enclose the map here, and what you'll see is anything that's in red, and it didn't show up well on the map here, but the kind of reddish brownish areas through some of these townships is where TCC already serves. Outside of the Trempealeau County, you'll see that we're already in Jackson County, Eau Claire County, a little bit of Buffalo County. We were successful in we were awarded 3 grants total, then working with the state, 1 in Eau Claire County, 1 in Buffalo County, and then 1 in Jackson County for the town of Alma. So we've been going through this grant process. We're finding, working to get dollars through the state, the PSC. Alma Center, Maryland area. Well, and we've had, it's the whole town of Alma. That's why that's all red.
But there are 2 rust-colored areas in Jackson County.
Yep, and one is the Northfield area where we've served, TCC served there with service since the 60s. Okay. So, the purple area is the area that we're looking at. Rob contacted me and he says, if you had all 5.7, what could you do? So that's the purple area. In between some of that purple area, you'll see kind of a yellowish area that covers Galesville, Trempealeau, Arcadia, Whitehall, Blair, Osseo. We currently serve those areas as well. So we're in those villages, cities. But there's a lot of the area around those that we do not serve. Those were areas that we got when we merged with Western Wisconsin Communications 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So,
About 13 years old?
So anyway, so what I did was based on the dollars that we are seeing currently to build broadband, I was able to take and I took the township lines just because it was an easy border. So when you see the areas, you'll see that I do not have anything in Ettrick, I do not have anything in town of Arcadia, I don't have anything in town of Dodge. It just, as I took the townships and tried to build the township, that's how I came up with the dollars. It's not that we don't want to build those areas, we'd love to build all of Trempealeau County. But I worked into the numbers that we had. But you'd see, again, it's expensive. We're right now, I estimate at about $50,000 a mile to build fiber to the home. That $50,000 includes all the electronics, all the cable on the ground, that drops up to the house, the whole works. It's an estimate. Some miles might be a lot less because it's real sandy, easy going. Some miles might be a lot harder because it's creeks and wetlands or hard rock. So the average has come out around 50. On this estimate, I did take it up to 55 because we are dealing with the same supply demands that the rest of the world is facing. And gas prices, our contractors for next year, I'm still working with them to find out what some of these costs are gonna be because they're getting fuel increases, labor increases and everything. So I did increase it so that we had a little bit closer, hopefully, real number. You'll see if you go through the sheet on the cost, we have the estimate in there, and then I have a 65-35 grant application. The last two grants that we did for the town of Naples in Buffalo County and the town of Alma in Jackson County, we were successful with a 65-35 grant application. So the grant was put in 65% of the dollars. The one that we did before that was a 50-50. We are working really hard with the legislatures and to understand that the areas that need this the most right now are the most expensive. So to come up with enough funds, those grant dollars need to be high enough to help hit those areas.
So this is a state grant?
This is a state PSC grant, yep. The last one that we just got, it was run through the state, it was actually with federal ARPA dollars, but the state, Wisconsin State PSC was the one who ran the grant process, so.
By that, is Trumbull County Cable supposed to come up with the other 35% then, or?
Trempealeau County, or TCC, not Trempealeau County, but Tri-County Communications, that 35% would be made up of what TCC would be able to put in, along with the state, or with the county's ARPA dollars, or whatever other funds can be found. The grants that we've done in the past, there's been some, one township went to their ratepayers and they were able to pass a referendum to increase the taxes, property taxes, to help pay their portion of it. These last two are gonna use the town's ARPA dollars. So that's one thing when you look at this, if the county put all $5.7 million in, plus you went to the townships and said, you guys have ARPA dollars too, are you willing to put in? You can do more, or, you come up with more money to make that difference.
And I should add, we've already started just real basic reaching out to some of the townships to set up some meetings to have those discussions to see what interest they would have. Obviously, just what Buck said. There's different ways that they could come up with that money. Maybe some of their ARPA funds, maybe through other procedures. But we're starting that conversation as well.
One thing I did want to hit on here is in this total build, what I came up with, counting dots on a map, was 1,702 total locations. Now, I could have missed some. The locations listed at 1192, that is taking what TCC, what we have done in the grants in the past, and this is the direction of our board of directors, is we could put in 70% of those homes passed, because that's what we see as our take rate is. And every of the areas that we built, we're seeing about 70 to 75% take rate on our services.
So by that you mean you offer it and 70% of the people take the offer?
Correct. So that's where TCC comes up with the dollar amount that we can put in, that just about $3 million. And it's based on that 70% of the locations. So the goal would be to still get a drop, this final cable plowed all the way to the house. If the customer doesn't take it, at least it's there. And that's what we've done on our past builds. So, but the funding, in this particular proposal, Tri-County would put in the $2.9 million out of our funds. So when you take it, and again, looking at just this grant proposal, if it's a $25 million project and you were able to get us successful with a 65-35 grant from the state, the state grants would kick in $16 million, and the total left would be the $8.75 million. If you take out the $3 million, roughly $3 million that Tri-County would put in, that puts it at about, that 5.7. And again, that's the number Rob said, that's the number that the county has, so let's shoot for that. Knowing that getting 100% of that's pretty not gonna happen, but we wanted to at least give you an idea of what it would take, and it still wouldn't cover the entire county.
And of course, we obviously could come up with other proposals at other amounts if that's something the county wanted to pursue. That we definitely could work on that.
If they offered you $2 million, you would come up with.
If the county wanted to do $2 million, we'd go out there and we'd figure out where the best place to build that $2 million is and try and hit that, and then.
You're trying to hit the main population areas, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, right, and there's definitely some areas that are growing faster in Trempealeau County than others. Every person out there is important to have it, because everybody, as Rob alluded to it, there's people out there trying to get their master's degree from sitting at home on the internet. There's people working from home, and you have them in every corner of the county. But yes, the town of Caledonia, the town of Trempealeau, town of Gale, there's a little bit more growth there coming out of the La Crosse area. The town of Sumner has a little more growth coming out of the Eau Claire area, but Arcadia's got a ton of growth going. We know that. So.
I should add too, Buck, correct me if I'm wrong, these grants, often you're more competitive when you have different stakeholders, the more people that are part of the grant. So, if the county with TCC, with maybe the township, might give us a better chance of actually getting the grants if you've got multiple people in. So that's why this has, again, multiple people putting in money to try to accomplish it too.
Tim Robertson had a question.
I was wondering if I could address the group.
Yeah, go ahead.
Buck, I'm just going to put it to you, but first I wanted to point something out now. Because the areas of the county that are underserved, perhaps a township approached the county and said, we desperately have businesses, we have lots of land with citizens who want this. Say the town of Ettrick came to you and they wanted to be a part of this project. If the township agreed to meet, and Buck went and spoke to them and said, we really want this to happen, and they were willing to front the entire portion of their township's cost as part of that grant, there's really nothing for the county to be involved in at that point, and that could help the decision-making as to which areas get served. If townships don't want to participate because they don't think they can borrow or do a 10-year cost to their citizens to expand the broadband, or use their ARPA funds. But there's multiple ways that you can think about this as far as that goes, and one thing that the county might be interested in doing is, if you're going to be running fiber places, are there needs that the county has for some of these runs? Should we be connecting our radio towers with the glass you're putting in the ground? Maybe we contribute in that respect. It goes towards that project to assist in lowering that cost, but it also helps the county in a long-term solution there. Just wondering if that is something that we could consider, and that's all I wanted to remark on regarding that. Thank you.
And yeah, that's definitely, the other 3 grants that we've got, it's been working more on the town level. But the other, Jackson County, Eau Claire County, and Buffalo County have a broadband committee at the county level, and they're helping to facilitate that. They also have put some dollars towards those grants. But those all were before they had their ARPA dollars too. I'm actually going to be meeting with Buffalo County in a couple weeks with their broadband committee to see, they have interest in where else we'd be willing to go. So yeah, if a town, and that's what happened in Eau Claire County. We worked with the Eau Claire County broadband committee there. The town of Drummond, just north of Mondovi, was the one that kind of stepped to the plate first and said, hey, we want to do this. We've got some money that we'll put towards it, and Eau Claire County put a little bit of money toward it, but it's pretty much the town on that one. So yeah, we've had success both ways. I think, in all honesty, when I first reached out to Rob on this, I've been getting calls from the other counties, and I wasn't hearing much of anything from Trempealeau County. And part of it wasn't that, I mean, we're willing to see what we can do, but we didn't want to get behind on this either. I was contacted by one township in Buffalo County the week before the ARPA grants were due, when they said, we want to apply for a grant. You don't have enough time. The process needs to start sooner than that. So at least having the issue forefront, I think the county, knowing that TCC is willing to be a partner, do what we can to try and help where the need is. Or, what it goes to from there. It could be more of just working direct with the towns, yeah. And again, it's expensive. So having the more stakeholders definitely helps at a grant situation. Even if it's, again, there's places that make sense to help the county, whether it's the radio towers or some facilities out there.
Am I allowed to follow up?
Yes, go ahead.
These broadband committees in the other counties, who serves on those? Is that made up of county board members? Is it made up of businesses, individuals?
I know the one in Buffalo County and the one in Eau Claire County have at least one town or one county board member on it. Then they had other stakeholders involved. One had the town secretary was on. They had some from some of the businesses, I think, but they all had at least one county board member on them. Jackson County, I had one, but I can't remember who was there. But.
Okay, because I think schools would like to be represented on such a committee, and then the hospitals and clinics would probably like to be a part of that, and certain business communities. So whatever you would recommend to the board, I think they'd like to hear it as far as forming a committee. Thank you.
Yes.
So it sounds like there's some work to be done, at least in the county level, identifying the need. What are the parameters for identifying the need? Interest in terms of the townships, and at Rob, you've started already, you say, reaching out to the township saying this is an option. I was at the Towns Association meeting a couple weeks ago, and I don't recall any mention of the possibility of using ARPA funds for broadband.
No, I don't think it ever
came
at all.
up. So the Towns Association in Trempealeau County needs to
need to talk to them.
You need to talk to them, but I suspect if whatever parameters we use for identifying the needs, and I think, and Paul says, why is there this big green swath in the lower half of the county, and the answer, from what I can tell from the map, is that none of the service area that you already have is adjacent to that. What's available and easier to do is is also a factor involved in making decisions. where you're
And
gonna
that's,
go.
a little bit of this is built that way. We do serve the village of Ettrick. We have service in there, but we don't have a lot of facilities, so it'd be a little more expensive to start in Ettrick and build out, but it definitely can be done. Where, we serve a large area of the town of Pigeon. There's just a very small area that we don't serve. But I also understand some of that area is a little heavier Amish, so you maybe not have as high of a take rate
Right.
there.
So there are all these elements involved in the decision about where to go, but I think we need as many people, as Tim said, the hospitals, if there's going to be telehealth, people are going to need to.
And the schools definitely help to push and to find dollars. The town of Alma and Jackson County, the Alma Center Lincoln School District was a big proponent there and helped that get done. They were able to come up with some funds and stuff there. So they have a contact. They know the need because they know which students are sent home without service. And the school districts definitely are a big help.
Just for information, I know that the majority of the Amish community in town of Pigeon has fiber optic to their buildings because when I was asking why they're doing it, because they aren't going to use it, they said, this is not your communications company, it's, what do you call it? It used to be DTC, what's it called now?
CenturyLink or
CenturyLink.
Lumen, no, yeah.
They just contract people and they go by population map, the dots like you're talking about, and there's a lot of population here, so they put fiber optic line to every Amish home in Fleckwick.
Yep.
And none of them use it, but.
Yeah, we do have some of the Amish community that does have our services, but the other thing about them is they're starting a lot of businesses.
Oh, yeah.
And they do take, they can want internet and phone at their businesses. They may not have all the services at their house, but their businesses, they do. So they're, it's a growing demand for them as well.
But that was my question, do you have to be a tri-county phone system to get this fiber optic line in?
Well, this would be expanding our territory to take on those, so everybody would become a member of the cooperative. So.
Just from my own experience, because I was one of the original ones to sign up when they started this. Got my money back because they won't run it to my house. I got the Pigeon Creek in the way, and so it's never come up our valley.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm in the town of Pigeon, and then the line to my house went out, and CenturyLink put in a new line. I said, "Are you putting in fiber optic?" And they said, "It won't happen in my lifetime." So, I still got a barbed wire fence that comes through.
I'll just add to that, I think it was at the, not the last Towns Association meeting, but the meeting before that, maybe it was in July, and I was there, and we did speak just briefly about this, and Buck, I think you talked about it, you and someone else were there talking about, because again, it's just such a hot subject in the townships.
Wasn't that a remote, or that was not an in-person meeting?
That was an in-person one in
Town Arcadia,
Town of
I think.
Arcadia,
Yeah, but again, you're right, we're going to continue having conversations with individual townships to see where, if they're willing to put kind of skin in the game in it as well. Buck said that can just make the dollars go even further and the miles go even further, so.
John, I have a question. This is a kind of a technical, practical question, but I guess it has to do with the future expansion. Buck, you used the word drop. Does that mean the line that goes from some kind of a central, I would call it a trunk line, that goes to a house
to the house, yeah. Our term for it is a drop, and that's what comes from the road up your driveway to your house.
So my question is, if you install fiber optic, I remember I went through went through the process maybe 10 years ago. Whenever you put it into Chimney Rock, I remember how, half the township is rock and the other half is marsh. So I know the difficulties, the physical, terrain difficulties that you experience. But if you go up a valley with a fiber optic line and there's no residences, but sometime in the future, somebody, buys a 40 and puts in a house, how difficult is it to attach a drop to that trunk line, and who's going to pay for it?
First answer is it's not difficult at all. When we lay this out, we have to set what the pedestals, those green boxes you see alongside the road. We set those every so often, and then we can tie into those at any time.
What is it again, a pedestal?
A pedestal?
Pedestal.
That's what, yeah. Going forward, we would probably have to, if somebody builds a home and wants service at a time, there would probably be a charge to them to get that drop up to the house, just like if you pay the power company to get one entered as well. So, but yeah, that cost ends up being a smaller piece of it if everything, the main fiber optics out at the road already, so.
I'm just, again, it really affects expansion and the value of those properties that are in some nearness, some propinquity to that main line.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
And that is one thing I'd like to hit on, that it has, I don't have the exact number, but I know the real estate community has numbers. Your property values do go up when you have high-speed internet. They just do. People are trying to buy homes. That's my dad was in real estate, and that was one of the first questions you get asked. Is there high-speed internet here? So.
A common call, like I said, that I get, so where are the maps? Where is it good, where isn't it?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I want to thank Buck and Rob for starting this conversation. There's a lot of moving parts, and how did we not have a broadband committee? And all of our surrounding counties do. But it also points out that this is the new utility. I mean, like electricity in the 40s and phone in the 30s, and the roads all the time. This is the new utility. And we're involved in we're only now starting this discussion, and I appreciate it. Rob, you can stay on this?
You bet.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So first priority would probably be to form a committee, I suppose, huh?
Well, actually, don't you have more presentations lined up?
We
You're going to have competitors, I think.
Yes.
I think he meant a broadband committee.
Okay.
Yeah, which we have talked, Tim's brought it up before too, so, yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Number 19, FEMA fund updates.
Okay, in your things that were sitting on your desk, John and I were in on was it Zoom or was it a WebEx meeting? WebEx meeting.
WebEx.
Zoom
Nico.
or something anyway. And, no, yeah, it was a Zoom meeting because it was with NACO. They have been pretty instrumental on the ARPA funds. I think we're going to have to combine these two, 18 and 19, okay? Because, yes, the U.S. Senate has already adopted this S3011, which is, it's got a very, very long name of
I got it
State,
here if you'd
local,
like it.
tribal,
Yeah.
territorial, fiscal recovery, infrastructure, and disaster relief flexibility act.
Oh, my God.
If this, if they can get this passed, we can quit working on our lost revenues, because anything up to 10 million will be considered lost revenue. Well, we're only getting 5.7, which means if this passes the House of Representatives and signed by the president, all of our 5.7 million will be considered up for grabs. We don't have to.
Well, up for grab, you mean
Well, I'm
eligible
gonna
for
call
other
it
use?
eligible for any
Up for
use there
grab,
is.
okay.
It can be used for
Okay.
anything except
Any.
debt reduction or rainy day fund.
Okay.
You can't use it to pay off existing debt, and you can't put it in a rainy day fund. You have to use it. But you could be using it basically for anything, so it makes it a little easier. This has already passed the House. It's just gotta go through the Senate, but it's gotta
Now
go through the House.
And so this letter was a letter that NACO sent us, and we'd have to, the part that's yellow, we have to put in there what we kind of think we'd want to use it for, but, and of course, our only representative is Ron Kind. So if we can do that and get him to vote for it and it passes, yes, our ARPA funds can be used for anything.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
This is what I was referring to earlier. This was our first scheduled presentation on what to use the ARPA funds based on the guidelines that first came with it. This incredibly long-named resolution or act would eliminate those requirements and basically allow the county to decide what to do with the $5.7 million as it will, including apparently roads. So what I'm communicating now to the various departments that I've talked to about this is to continue their work on their presentations. And we were educated significantly today on how the build out of broadband works and how expensive it is and what other counties are doing. So we were educated significantly today on the issue of broadband. In the future, we'll hear from senior services, public health, conservation, extension on how this money could be used. By taking away the restrictions, though, it becomes clear that the county board will have more flexibility and also will not be required to designate the funds for these projects. So the value for me going forward is to start conversations and continue conversations, again going back to when are we going to stop borrowing and what are we going to borrow for and what are we going to budget for. So this has been quite a change from the beginning of the ARPA fund.
It's 2 years, so.
Yeah.
We don't have to really allocate, not spend, allocate anything, and our deadline for that is in 2024, so we do have time to think.
And all
And then going
proceeds
in-
have to be spent by 2026.
2026, yeah. That's why I said kind of 18 and 19 might fall together, because with FEMA, they've already knocked off almost half of the stuff that we turned in for them,
Right.
saying not being eligible. It's over $300,000, so I probably will be one of these presenters coming in for ARPA money to replenish the general fund for the FEMA money that we won't be getting, that was taken out of the general fund to fund some of these projects.
And that is one of the replenishing money that was lost during the last 2 years is was originally one of the eligible ARPA headings.
Is rainy day fund that John mentioned,
That's
is
just
that
like-
the same thing as a general fund? I mean,
No, it's
No.
like putting it in savings somewhere.
Oh, okay, so you're talking about, yeah,
The ARPA money-
unallocated
yeah.
savings account or
The money that we've gotten so far, Lori did invest that, and she's
And that
getting
you
quite a
can
few
do, that you
$1,000
can
a
do.
month on interest on
That's
that
not,
2 point.
that's not very much, because you saw in our report today what you get for interest on that. This,
$35,000 under.
That she's gonna be short, yeah.
yeah.
But she is pulling in revenue from the ARPA money that we do have so far.
Anyway, this is good discussion. I want you to keep it up, talking to these people, and because
Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
I would like to see this, we have 2.8 so far, or something like that, or
2.8, yep.
2.8 in so far, and there should be another 2.8 coming, and
It
into
said
it?
within 12 months is what
Yeah,
they said.
so-
We should get the next,
so anyway, we
but if
got,
we haven't spent, and I don't, the old rules had that the second reporting was supposed to be due October 31st. They changed that to January.
yeah.
So we've got time to submit our allocates some stuff if we want to, in the interim.
So anyway,
Anyway, maybe, I don't know if we actually.
want an act?
Yeah, we can, because it's 18. I do have discussion action. So if you want us to send this letter to Ron Kind, I already put in a call to his office in Washington, so he already knows where we want him to vote on this S3011.
Are you gonna fill in the two parentheses?
We'll have to fill in the stuff that
You have to make
says-
something up.
that isn't that
That
hard
should
to,
be easy.
it isn't that hard to figure out something to put in there, so.
If we need we need a vote, I'll move to complete the letter and send it to Representative Kine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion made second, and complete the letter and send it on to Ron Klein. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That would be good.
Did I?
I'm going to vote against.
Against?
I'm going to vote no.
Okay.
You don't want us,
You don't want us
fund
to?
roads, huh?
You don't like the fact that you can use it for anything.
I want us to continue to talk about other priorities and other needs.
Right, no, I agree.
I think we still got to do the
We can
priorities.
still listen to other presentations. Well, this could take months.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't really, even the first funds don't have to be spent until 2024 or something like that, so. We got 2 years to figure this out. Next item is date and time.
December 6th?
Where are we?
What did you say the date?
December 6th is the first Monday in December.
Tim will be coming back with that resolution for his $45,000.
Just want to do it 9 o'clock so we're more uniform? or
Well,
does
I don't
Chuck
know.
need us to be early?
You never know, if it works, it's 8:30, helps out, at least helps out Chuck in the
Okay,
meantime.
8:30 is fine with me.
If that's okay with everybody, I kind of like it.
That's fine with me.
Okay, we'll just leave it at 8:30. December 6th. The last item on the agenda is adjourn at 10:57.
So, fall.
Yeah.
Tuesday. That doesn't seem like it's gonna be like one of those